If you'd like to be able to listen to the show without ads and have full access to bonus content, that's an option. To find out how, please go to dogmanencounters.com/podcast.
So now it's Thursday, September 29th, the next day. So we find out that the donkeys had gotten out either early in the morning, like while it's still dark, or, maybe late at night. They got out, but they were locked in their pen because they had gotten out a few days earlier. So now they were locked in their pen, but they still got out. And we were like, man, that's really, really strange.
Again, right? So
yeah.
Second time.
Yeah. And we thought that was really strange because my dad had seen the creature, and then the donkeys got out of the locked pen and ran down the road again. So that was really concerning.
And, I explained to the landowner, when I called her, what I saw, and I told her. And other people had seen in that area a year ago or so, something similar to that. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. I was like, forgot to say it.
So Thursday, this day where the donkeys got out, after we, pressure washed and did some other things, me and my dad, we went back to that 4-wheeler road where I heard the sounds and, got like some pictures. We went back and we were going to go take pictures just to see if anything was there. And we didn't really see anything or, anything like that. But on the way out, we see this weird deer kind of look at us defensively. And do you want to describe that?
We were just driving down the dirt road, and it kind of just came out of the forest to the road's edge.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of like boasted up, where it's like, I don't know, it just, the other 100 deer that we'd seen on the trip so far seemed to be very passive and just kind of eat the grass and then look up and maybe walk off or run off if you got a little too close. And
this one was
deer
like
seemed
weird.
to come closer. But anyway.
And so I get my phone out and I'm like filming it because it's just a really strange behavior for this deer.
Yeah, it kind of came toward us. Like it ran toward us, maybe 40 or 50 feet and then stopped and kind of looked at us.
And so I'm filming this deer and I'm like, okay, I'm filming, drive closer so I can get it better on camera. And right when I say that, a white hawk flies across the sky.
Right over the same time.
The same exact time I tell my dad, let's get closer.
And it was a pure white.
It was a predominantly white hawk. It was more of a normal size hawk.
Mostly white with some beige.
Yeah, it was mostly white. Like the top of it was white, the bottom belly part was white, and it had some like beige-ish brown feathers. So it wasn't like,
But it was still,
it was still
rare because I haven't seen too many. That.
So I would still consider it a white hawk. So that was my second white hawk that I had seen. So I was like, wow, this must be some sort of synchronistic sign or something. So anyway, we go back to the mobile home that we were staying in and eat lunch, whatever. And then my dad takes me to Lisa's house and I'm over there canning vegetables and stuff. And then my dad goes back to the guest house that we're staying in.
Yeah, the mobile home.
Yeah, the mobile home. And
as soon as I get back and I'm walking on the porch, the same door that we came out of in the front.
Before we continue, I just wanted to note here that in the morning of Thursday, September 29th, as soon as I had woken up, I looked out the window in the den, which is in the diagram, and I see some of the rollers covered in brown stain from a couple days before, and my eyes are still blurry from waking up, and I see them as eggs, and I tell my dad, hey, the Dogman brought you some eggs, right? Because he had just seen the creature, the night before. So I just told him that. I wasn't really thinking. I just told him that. And then the rest of what I just said, going into the woods, seeing the white hawk and the deer happened. And then we come back to the house and my dad sees this bird.
And so, I'm walking on the front porch, and there's a small little gray bird about 4.5 inches long, maybe 5. And it's just sitting there. It's dead. And I don't see like any saliva on it from like a cat, or I don't see any impacts on the window or the sliding glass door. I didn't see any. There was only one little drop of blood out of its nose, but I noticed the neck was broken, but there was no feathers anywhere. And I've seen birds hit windows before, and I've seen the impact mark. There's at least a little drop of either blood or some sort of saliva. There's also feathers. Some of the feathers usually fall off. This bird was perfect condition, other than being dead, and I took the bird basically and buried it in the area where I saw the creature.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just went back there to get rid of it. I didn't know if it was going to have any infections or whatever, but I just took it back to the area where I saw the creature and dug a little foot deep hole, put it in there, not even a foot deep, maybe 10 inches. And it was mostly clay, like a compact clay, kind of hard. And so I packed it back down, and it was chunks. So there was these chunks that were all like golf ball size chunks of clay, maybe a little bigger, a little smaller. And well, I will tell you what happened.
In the morning. Yeah. So that night, we didn't really hear any sounds that night. So that was a relief. And this was also like the night after the gunshots and after seeing the creature. So now it's Friday, September 30th. And we get up and we go check the bird.
Yep, go in the back behind the dark end of the mobile home where I saw the creature at and where I buried the bird. And it was dug up. And I was shocked because the way it was dug up, it was not like a dog or a coyote would just scratch out with their front paws and kick the dirt up into a pile. Every little chunk was lifted out and placed around the perimeter of the hole. I mean, there was probably, 20 chunks of clay that you had to lift out to get at the bird. But they were all lifted out. There was no claw marks. There was no scratch marks of any kind. And then a pile of feathers, kind of in a circular display about 1.5 foot away from the hole. And so I said, that's strange. There's no scratch marks. There's no pile of dirt kicked up like a normal animal. Like a fox.
I thought it was weird too when I saw it.
And I've seen cats dig up stuff, and they're not going to do it that neatly.
Mm-hmm.
And so the bird itself, there's no blood on the ground. The feathers are just in a pile, and in a circle actually. And there's no bones really, just the feathers, and it's gone.
Yeah. So, this was the last night that we would be staying here. We would be leaving Saturday the next day. So later Friday night, I'm in my room. My dad's in his room. I had spent the day, cleaning and packing everything. And I'm kind of just like laying down, getting ready for bed. And boom, we heard this big boom on the side of the house. It sounded like my dad was like.
It was much louder.
Yeah. It sounded like, to kind of give you an idea, like my dad jumping on the bed and then, hitting the floor with all of his.
Jump off the bed and just jump on the floor.
Yeah. And then boom, I could hear it all the way from my room, and it was the loudest thing that we've heard since we've been there.
I thought it was maybe like a branch, but there's no trees.
Yeah, it was really concerning. That was really loud. And then we started hearing the boom, 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 but loud.
The same exact stuff that we'd been hearing,
but way louder.
Time there was picked up in its intensity more than any other time.
Yeah, it was really strange that today was our last day, but also the night of the loudest thumps and thuds and booms. It was crazy.
And so my daughter actually went out and beat on the outside the house, and I could barely hear it. I mean, it was loud, but compared to the creature.
Oh yeah, but I didn't bang on the house that night. I banged on it like the same day my dad banged on the house.
Yeah, so I had something to compare to. You could hear it, but it wasn't like it shook the house where it vibrated it, this.
This was making louder sounds this night than ever before. And then I hear it's actually breathing, like this creature is breathing, because before I never heard it breathing. I only heard it humming. like that kind of
You
sound.
put your ear up to the wall about the back side of the house.
Yeah, and throughout the 2 weeks, the humming would get louder. But tonight, I heard it breathing, and that was really scary. It was like a raspy, struggling kind of sound.
Guttural,
yeah, like it was like kind of like that, but louder. It was just scary.
I remember how intense it was.
And it sounded
we were talking about it.
It kind of like sounded like panting, and it sounded like it was struggling in a way, and it was like kind of huffing. And I heard the humming too at the while it was doing that. So I don't know how it was doing both at the same time. And then so I was like, I banged on the inside. I hit the wall a couple times, and then it kind of stopped for a second, and then it would do the thud, the tapping again.
The pounding.
So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try and communicate with this creature with a meditation kind of. So I go into this meditative state, and I, get into this relaxed state of mind, and I ask that I can communicate with this creature, and I send it a telepathic message, my name, why are you making all this noise?
And energy healing, that type of, you work with like different archangels and different frequencies and energies.
So I tell the creature my name, and I ask it, why is it doing all this? And I didn't get any responses other than I would ask it something, and then it would tap, do the tapping again. And then I received this vision of what it looks like. And I was scared because it was this wolf dogman creature thing. It had the pointed ears, had like almond shaped eyes with the yellow iris, the glowing yellow eyes, and the snout was like kind of like a snarl, and like you could see
a snarl and a smile.
Yeah, like a snarl and a smile, because I noticed my little dog, when she's happy to see me, she'll pull back her teeth, but also when she's vicious, she'll pull back her teeth. So this thing kind of had its teeth pulled back. In my mind's eye, I'm seeing this, and the snout has like those wrinkles on its snout. And it's dark charcoal gray with a little bit of light gray, not black, but charcoal gray, medium gray, and a little bit of light gray. It has a mane, not as long as a lion's mane, but it kind of had a mane. And I actually drew what I saw once I got back. And
yours that you drew looked similar to the face of the one I saw.
Yeah, so I draw what I saw once I got back. And I believe we sent you that
you
picture,
have the
drawing. So that's
the sighting drawing and the visualization.
So that's what I saw in my mind's eye. And I would continue to ask it some more questions, like if it's trying to hurt us or anything. But like I said, I didn't get anything other than like it would do the tappings. And it dawned on me that what was making all those like piano key tapping sounds was its fingers. Its big fingers were like tapping on the house.
Yeah.
And because our fingers are too small,
you can't even hear us tapping on with our fingers on the outside of the house at all. Period.
Yeah. And, hearing it breathe out there, you kind of get an idea that this is something way bigger than you are.
Very, very large creature for sure. And it didn't even look to me like like when you watch a really good high budget film and the CGI is so.
You're talking about your sighting?
Yeah, the sighting. I'm sorry.
A few days prior.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm just kind of going back to the sighting. It's like if you see a really good CGI in a movie, but it's a creature or a dinosaur you've never seen in real life move and articulate, yet it still looks real, but the muscles move different and the skeleton moves different. So the movement, it didn't really have like a crawl movement to it, but the neck and the head moved, and you can see a little bit of the front shoulder move. But to me, I thought, wow, I mean, that's how I was thinking of it, like a CGI and a really high budget movie.
Yeah. So after I tried to communicate with it and everything. We still heard the breathing and like huffing kind of sound. And then I heard like this low growl and I was like, oh my God, like it all just dawned on me that everything that we had experienced from the beginning had to be this creature. It was not a ghost. And also, those sliding sounds that I was talking about earlier, like at this point, my dad had told me that when he was working on the roof.
I was working on the side of the house, and I was sliding my hand on the side of the house because, I was thinking about all these sounds, and I was like, let me rub the side of the house and stuff, and it happened when I was just out, I was doing all kinds of things, washing the house and working on the outside, and I slid my hand on the outside of the vinyl, and it made that kind of sound, like it could be that swooshing sound.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Because it did make the similar sound of that.
So now everything added up, and we were talking about it, and we were like, well, why didn't we add things up before? Why did it take so long for us to realize what we were dealing with? So,
and the fact that we saw the gray alien in the photo with a black Dogman, it was definitely not the Dogman that I saw.
The one that I saw too was not the same as the black Dogman in the woods.
Yeah, that means there could have been some kind of interaction going on at the mobile home where we were at that was involving Grays and the Dogman.
Yeah, so
we don't know really what happened with, our experiences and as far as what was doing it all.
Yeah.
Other than the Dogman creature was seen.
Yeah. So after attempting communication, after all that, the sounds kind of died down a little bit for the night, but it's late at night and we're supposed to leave early the next morning. And over the 2 weeks, our sleep just got, more and more disrupted. So we didn't really sleep good that night. So now it's Saturday, October 1st. We have everything packed in the car and the trailer. And now we're going to be heading back to Florida, at least part of the way. So we stop at a cryptid museum in West Virginia. And immediately I noticed this weird kind of vibe, I guess. It's just kind of weird. And when we were there, like, the people were like coming up to us and asking us questions, but they weren't asking other people questions. And it was just a little weird because they looked like tourists, but they actually worked for the place.
Well, yeah, and while we're there, there was a lot of literature and stuff and posters and cutouts from newspaper articles on Men in Black.
And so we read all that stuff and kept it in mind for later. So while we're there, we noticed some people kind of just eyeballing us weird. Some of the people in there. It's just a really strange vibe.
But
there was like this one guy that kept circling us in the very back. And I kind of picked up on this and I was like, yeah, we should kind of leave. So whenever we were leaving,
there was a guy there that I mentioned to you about seeing a dog, if you had heard of a Dogman before.
Yeah. So my dad said to him, kind of in a hush-hush kind of tone, he's like, do you know anything about Dogman? And the guy was like, why do you ask me that? And then my dad's like, because I saw a Dogman not too far away from here. And then the guy responds, oh, how long have you been researching them? And then my dad says like 5 or 6 years. And then he's like, oh, well, I think so. I shot at 2 skinwalkers in a Strigoi not too far away from here. And then after that, we just kind of left. And that was just a really weird encounter. And I felt like my dad shouldn't have said anything at all. So we left. It was a weird experience. Nothing major or anything, just kind of like subtly weird.
Something makes you scratch your head, that's all.
Yeah, subtly weird. So now we kind of just get into Kentucky. And then
we had this vehicle that was racing up on the driver's side, a dark blue or black vehicle, looked kind of like a Ferrari. And they got parallel to us. They were right next to my driver's side window. And the guy rolls down his window and he just stares at us.
He's the passenger.
The passenger in the other vehicle just stares at us.
So wait, before that happens, he like speeds up a lot and then he kind of comes back almost like a car length in front of us, but he doesn't use the brakes. It was like a video game, like a really.
It was almost like a stunt driver for like some sort of movie or something.
Yeah, the driving skill was excellent. Anyway, so this guy in the passenger seat, he rolls down his window and then he looks at us.
Like a really weird stare.
Yeah, he looks at us through the windshield and he has this really plastic looking face.
It's kind of like a blank stare.
A blank, expressionless face and stare. And he looks at us for like 10 seconds straight and it's creeping me out. And then they kind of like get in front of us.
Snatch in front of us and there's still a couple of car lengths ahead of us. And we noticed
that their tag says
Coyote 8 on it.
Yeah, so that was
very weird.
So they're in front of us, and it seems like as if they're not sure if they're going to keep going in front of us like fast, or if they're going to pull off the exit real fast. And they pull off the exit, which is on the right.
They barely made it, just another couple of feet, and they would have went off into the little ditch that dropped down about 10 feet. And they did it professionally and really fast, and it was a snatch. They snatched over, but still made it look like a smooth glide.
Yeah.
And then
the driver. So I turn and look out my window because I'm in the front seat passenger side, and I look out the window, and I see that the driver had rolled his window down and is looking back in our direction
the same way,
looking with the same like plastic, blank, expressionless stare and facial expression or lack thereof. And then I look back, I snatch my head back, and I'm like, oh my God, that guy's looking back at us. And then I look back at him, and he's rolled his window up and, speeding around the circular, like curved exit. And I'm like, whoa.
Very, very bizarre. That was so strange, and it was like very unnerving. The thing is, when we were at the museum, it said something about like the men in black
they taunt you
in their dark colored vehicles.
Yeah,
and they would be travel in twos.
Yeah, 2s or 3s.
And they usually go after people that have seen cryptids.
Yeah,
or aliens.
Yeah,
and they know something about the witness. And the thing is that their tag is Coyote 8, and we had a guy say that he shot at 2 skinwalkers, which are usually coyotes, shapeshifters. So, I mean...
Yeah, it was very strange and weird.
But that was really shocking to us. Like, we had been... That had our hearts racing.
It was very intense. Also, we were talking in the car just about the experience that we'd experienced with the car, the Coyote 8 tag, and also just about the 2 weeks experience. And the reason we brought up the screws on the roof was because, we took so long to piece together things that even now we're still, realizing things.
Still piecing together stuff.
So we were talking about it, and we were just kind of like theorizing that maybe the creature, lifted up on the roof a little bit and the screws kind of pulled out just a little bit.
Just to try to make it flop around and make noise with it. Or
but we don't know that for sure.
That were there. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know that for sure, but, we were just theorizing it, and we just thought, we just thought that we would just say it and, if it has any significance or not. So anyway, we're still in Kentucky, and we stop at a rest stop, and I'm asking like the angels and the angelic presences, Archangel Michael to be specific, to show me a sign that, what we're dealing with is actually, true, because I don't want to be like crazy or anything. And then I turn around and I see a giant rainbow in the sky. And I took that as a sign that, everything that we've experienced is for a reason, but also that we're being protected throughout the journey. So we're still driving. It's dark, late at night. we're kind of getting near Lexington, and we start noticing like all these wolf names of things like Wolf Creek and Lichen Park, just stuff like on the way there that we thought were significant. Yeah, maybe like a little synchronicity because we were dealing with Dogman.
Synchronicities, yeah. And then the radio station.
And then the radio station was...
we have to have it on already. It was Wolf FM.
Yeah, it was called Wolf FM.
We didn't know that. When the host came on and announced, the thing, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And I think one of the exits before Lexington, I'm not sure how far away before Lexington it was, but we got off on exit 133 to get gas. And we got
the only pump available was pump 3.
And then the name of the address of this place was 3333. So like 4 threes basically. And I tried to get a picture of it, but every time it was too dark and it just didn't work out.
But we screenshotted everything as far as where it is and stuff.
Yeah. And we tried to get as many photos as possible just to kind of back up what we're saying. So once we're in Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky, we see this white truck go by and it has Bigfoot and it says, "Send it." That goes by. And then I look and see there's this Transylvania University sign on my right. And then there's like a U-Haul that goes by with an alien on it. And it's like boom, boom, boom. And it's like, all these like cryptid and supernatural associated things just happened. Bam. So then we pull off at a rest stop for that night. Nothing else happened. Thank goodness. So now it's Sunday, October 22nd. And we go to Mammoth Cave. And we're driving and we're heading towards like the visitor center. But like on the road there's like a bunch of little, stopping places to lookouts and little trails and stuff. So we stop at one of the little trails.
A more nondescript trail. It didn't have the boardwalks. It didn't look like it was traveled, by all the tourists. It was kind of one that looked maybe like a serious hiker might want to go down it more than just someone that's going to see the caves.
Yeah. So we walked down it, like how far down?
A couple 100 feet.
Yeah, we walked down it, took some pictures. We walked my dad's dog, Smalley.
I saw some like structures out in the forest too that were definitely kind of like squatch looking.
So we go down the trail and then we come back up and we get in the car and we head down to the visitor center just to kind of get some pamphlets, stuff like that. So my dad goes in and then I realize that my phone is gone.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, maybe it slipped out and it's like in the cracks of the car, like in between the car seat.
So we looked
and
everywhere.
Console. And I'm looking in my bag and everything for about 15 minutes, back seat, front seat, everywhere, and double checking things. My dad gets back and I'm like, hey, I lost my phone. I can't find it. And he thought I was pranking him, but I wasn't. I was really concerned because they had the photos of things that we saw in the woods. There was, I would say, proof, the creatures that we saw. So I was pretty concerned because my phone had like pretty much all the, original photos. And I was like, oh my God. And especially since that Coyote 8 tag car.
Yeah, that was pretty shocking.
That was shocking. We thought maybe MIBs because of what we saw at the museum. So that's kind of what I was worried about. I was like, oh my God, can't find it. So my dad, he looked in the car. We couldn't find it. And I'm like, let's go back to the trail, maybe it's on the trail. So we go on the trail a couple times. My dad is with me. We're looking. You don't see anything.
No, I mean, and I can basically, with a background in archaeology and looking for small artifacts the size of a pencil eraser, sometimes I could spot from a standing position on the surface of the ground.
He didn't see it.
I would definitely see a 7-inch long phone with a glitter case on it.
Yeah, I had a glitter case. So then I get my dad to call my phone. He calls it a few times. It rings, but I don't hear it. We don't hear it. And for his contact, I made sure that his contact, whenever he calls, it has like a really loud ringer. We didn't hear anything. So then I'm like, okay, maybe somebody picked it up and took it to the visitor center, lost and found. So we try and call them, no answer. So then my dad texts my phone and says, lost phone at Mammoth Cave, call back, please. And then I'm like, okay, you sent that text. I'm going to go look. There was like these information plaques about the area. So I went over there and there was a lot of leaves on the ground. So I was like picking up leaves. Maybe it's under the leaves. And while I'm doing that, my dad's calling my phone and he says, he shouts over to me. He's like, it's going straight to voicemail. And I'm like, what? That's really suspect, because I'm like, if somebody stole it and they received the text that we're looking for it, maybe they blocked their number or turned it off or something. And that's when you text my phone.
Yeah. We needed that phone. We could not lose the phone or the photos. And
it was mainly about the photos, really.
Yeah. And I also sent a text, kind of like, okay, this is last resort, and we'll see if this even works, because, we didn't know what to believe after the Kylie 8 tag vehicle, So I said, MIBs, we want the phone back. Mm-hmm. And so I sent that. And then I looked out the car window to the left and I see a sparkle, right? And I was like, So I get out of the vehicle and I walk toward a sparkle. It disappears. And I see the phone, like I can identify it. And it's by another trailhead.
It's just smaller. That
was 20, 25 feet away from where we even walked at. So we definitely didn't go over there, not 2 car lengths close to it.
Yeah.
And it was face down with the glass on rocks. There was rocks that were, with the grass coming up through the rocks. But if it dropped, it would have hit the rocks.
Yeah.
Cracked it, or probably at least put a scratch. There was no scratches on the phone face.
Yeah.
So
and
very
then
strange.
He called me over and he said he found it, and I picked it up and I noticed that it was turned off, completely turned off. So I had to turn it back on. The little Apple icon, showed up, and then it turned back on, and it's at 1%, which before I lost it, it was like 80%. Now it's at 1%. And I click on the camera and I'm trying to take a picture of the little area, this little tiny trailhead. It was probably like an animal.
It didn't even, it was, the trees started growing over the bushes. Actually, not trees, but the bushes started growing over it about 3 feet or 4 feet.
Yeah.
But you could tell that it used to be traveled on, and maybe people just quit going on it and no one maintained it and trimmed it up. But it was definitely a trailhead that used to be traveled on.
Yeah, so I tried to take a photo of it, and the camera was blurry, and it wouldn't let me focus. It was just completely blurry. And then my phone just shuts off because it was at 1%. And that was very, very weird. And so I'm grateful to have that. We found the phone. And after that, we stop at another boardwalk before we leave, and we see there's a lot more structures here on this one. More X's, more bent over trees.
Yeah, we saw a lot of that, the X's, the bent over trees, and some that were almost like TP type structures where there's 4 or 5 different ones triangularly set up, and it was just obvious. They weren't just branches that fell from a tree, wind blowing them down.
And so the next major thing that happened on the way back, we were already out of Kentucky. We went through Tennessee and Alabama. We were actually still in Alabama when this next part happened. We were in Conecuh County, and it's dark, and all of a sudden, coming out from behind us, we're in the right lane, and in the left lane, speeding up, but also aiming towards the backseat driver's side.
Tire.
Yeah, there was this car that looked pretty much like the Coyote 8 car. It was like a Ferrari. It was nice, but it was a brighter blue instead of a darker bluish black color. And it was aiming right at the car, like it wanted to run us off the road with our trailer. And, my heart's racing. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. And like before that happened, I was texting my brother where we were. Something told me to look, and I saw that, and I was like, oh my God. And my dad saw that too. So he was trying to like speed it up a little bit. And that car, right when it wanted to aim for us, something pushed it off the road
it got
into
like
the
it was
ditch.
just snatched off into the ditch.
Yeah, like something with like...
It's almost like if the driver just decided to just go crash in the ditch.
Yeah, but it didn't seem like he turned that way. It seemed like he was still facing us.
Yeah.
And something pushed the entire car.
The way it looked was, like a push.
Yeah, like a push. Like something with such great force just like slapped it off the road, because it was still aimed in the direction that it wanted to hit. And with the amount of momentum that it had, I was like, there's no way it's not going to flip over and crash, and we're going to have to like pull over and call the ambulance or somebody. And to my surprise, I'm like, it doesn't crash. It doesn't flip over, but instead it maintains the speed in the ditch, which is also like, slanted.
It was kind of like a triangular ditch where it kind of went to a point at the bottom of a depression. And
that car,
it was driving fast, but it had a low ground clearance.
Yeah, it had a low ground
clearance. It was some sports car, maybe. It's nighttime, so it was like, it could be a Corvette or a Ferrari.
Something. It was a really nice car too, low to the ground, and it kept speed almost with us. We were probably going like 85, I think. And
well, we were trying to, we were
trying to get away from that.
Stomp the gas, and I had a trailer, and I got going about 85 because to dodge this vehicle.
Yeah, and it was still seeming like it wanted to get out of the ditch and hit us still. And I saw something else, like something pushed it back again, and it was still keeping speed, and again wanted to aim
drive
towards
back
us.
On the highway.
Yeah, aimed towards us, and something pushed it away, and then we kind of got ahead of it, and then like more traffic
started coming. But yeah, it was so bizarre because it looked as if it wasn't being slowed down by the ditch too much.
Yeah, and it was just so unreal. Like the skill to drive like that, I had never seen. I even went back and watched the videos online of people like running into ditches on YouTube and stuff.
And they just come to a dead stop or flip over.
And the thing is, this car never once put on the brakes. Like it never once slowed down. It always kept the speed. You would think that
they would have done that.
Yeah. And the fact that it was always trying to aim back towards us but kept getting pushed away was
unreal. It's like,
that was a lot to take in. A lot. That was just very intense for both of us.
Yeah. And it's like having, all these potential heart attack moments, the whole trip back.
Yeah, and at that moment, I was just very, very grateful that whatever pushed it off the road protected us from like being ran off the road. So I was very grateful.
The adrenaline jolt from all that was like 10 cups of coffee in about 5 seconds,
Yeah. And also the similarities between this kind of driving of this car and the Coyote 8 tag car were pretty much similar. Like the way they maneuvered the car. It was like Fast and the Furious or something.
Stunt driver for Fast and the Furious.
So anyway, that was intense. And now we're in Florida. And then we see another car.
This is really bizarre. I had a couple of hours, even before that second vehicle nearly crashed into us. I had asked Archangel Michael to show me a sign. And I said, I specifically want to see a wolf tag on a vehicle. And if everything that we went through was, all of this stuff was all connected and real. And then we're driving down the road, getting back off of Alabama from the interstate, going down into Florida.
Yeah.
And it was a dark road. It's a highway. The speed limit's like 60. And here comes a vehicle after we're off the interstate a couple of miles, just the only vehicle, like no other vehicles but us and this one that was approaching us. It was on the right side. And it got a little bit ahead of us, and we saw the tag. It said wolf in red. Nothing else. No county, town, or I mean, there was no
state.
State. It just said wolf, and that was super, super synchronistic and not a coincidence. Period.
Yeah, and I tried to get a photo of it, but right when I tried to get like video or pictures, they started.
And they went fast, and we sped up with them. But the thing is that I had a trailer, so I didn't bother trying to do anything dangerous. We just, they lost us. And then they get ahead of us about probably 500 feet. And then they snatch off, and then they go down this little dirt road or small road, little country back road. It looked like they slowed down and just kind of stopped. So that, because when we passed them, it looked like they came to a stop and saw the brake light. So I was like, that's weird. Really weird. So, I mean, don't know what to make of all of it, but too many, well, not coincidences, but maybe synchronicities, right?
Yeah.
The whole thing seemed bizarre, paranormal. Some of it was intensely frightening, and other of it was mind bending.
Yeah, but all of it, I would say all of it had to do with Dogman encounter. I think all of it, because that was the highlight of, I would say, the 2 weeks was seeing it, and then everything built up to it, and then it was kind of like a roller coaster ride the whole way. Yeah.
And then we're back looking at photos of the Mammoth Cave. It has, you see her elbow, Maya's elbow, and then off to the right, there's a bush, or it would be on the left side of the photo. Mm-hmm. It would be her right, because she's walking toward the camera. But there's what looks like a cloaked gray wolf, not this typical scary looking Dogman, or not anything like what I saw. This looks like a really, beautiful, just a gray wolf that has like extra long fur around the neck, and it's just like the head in the neck, and it's just there in the bush, but it looks close.
Yeah,
and you can still see the outline of it. And then on her elbow, there's a like little jacket, kind of a wolf head, like right on her elbow, and it's white with like a little bit of black. And these could be spirit energies. It could be something to do with the Greys or MIB or something, or I don't know. We don't know anything really.
Yeah, we don't know. And we're still piecing together and
then her phone was illuminated, and it was inside of her pocket in a olive green thick fabric jacket
thing.
And yet the phone is being seen through the pocket. It's silver.
Yeah.
There's no way that can happen. So,
and I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah, that you can see it on the video. I mean,
the picture.
You see this, you'll see the phone. That's it. It's just strange, very strange.
Yeah.
So this pretty much sums up
the entire experience.
The entire 2-week experience.
Yeah.
Paranormal, cryptid, photographs, and also we looked at the photographs. And there's some where, you see these different types of canine heads that are usually black or charcoal gray, but some of them tend to have like an Anubis look, and some of them with the really long ears, and some tend to have the ears pulled back and look kind of like a pit bull or a mastiff or something. Mm-hmm. And some have just the wolf look, like a gray wolf, but like a charcoal gray or black.
Yeah. Also the one with the jack-o'-lantern looking thing.
Some of them are not cloaked. They're just actually, if you look good, you'll see them, and it's not very difficult. And some of them we circle them and stuff. Mm-hmm. And there's some that are like semi-cloaked, but if you zoom in, you see the eyes, and you could tell there's a nose and nostrils. And you zoom in on like, well, if those are eyes and that's nostrils, and it matches up. And you can kind of see the other structures in the skull under the muscle and stuff. You see all of it, what would normally make out the face of that type of canine cryptid. Mm-hmm. So we've uncovered a lot with the photographs and that area seemed like it was a Dogman forest.
Yeah.
Like it
was filled with different things.
And there's even a little gremlin looking face that was hiding behind the leaves, and it was in an area that was right close to where the black dogman or wolf with the gray alien was, but it was like a different day. And took pictures, and then there's it looks kind of like a reptilian looking owl face. It's really weird, but you can see it's got the eyes are slit. It's got like a little beak.
Yeah, and also looking back through the photos from the day where I heard the sound, the initial sound that scared me, and I slipped down the hill. I looked back and I saw that the one that the gray alien, the black dogman. And remember I said there was like that little second sound that was kind of like darting up the hill. So I found this like the other day. I was looking back through the photos, and in that same direction where I heard the sound going to, I'm zooming in on the photo, and I see these black pointed ears and kind of like the shape of the face.
Yeah,
the snout.
Yeah.
And I took 3 photos. The first one, you don't really see it a lot. It's kind of like it moved its head within the 3 photos. And then it kind of just made sense to me that there were 2 dogmen there.
Yeah.
And one darted to the left, and then one went up the hill to the right. But that photo wasn't as
the clarity is not as good as the first one, but you can definitely make out that it has that kind of canine look to it.
Yeah, because like the ear looks like this logo right here for the Dogman Encounter show.
And that pretty much sums up everything. So we've told the whole story and a little extra.